A Man's Terrifying Pursuit by a UFO, written with elements of creative thinking and imagination. March 20th, 1974 could have been a day like any other for Adrian Sanchez, but it was not. At that time, the then merchant, parachutist, and merchant seaman became the protagonist of one of the incidents of the so-called golden age of Spanish ufology. A case that, although it fell into oblivion, was the prologue of one of the most impressive unknown waves experienced by Spain, a meeting, quote-unquote, that brought Spanish society, in anticipation of the end of the dictatorship, to the mystery of flying saucers. That day, Adrian Sanchez was celebrating the anniversary of meeting his wife, and I generally did not want him to make a business trip. Quote, I started in Genera, but I did not see favorable environment for my product, so I continued in as land caller. I also did not see a good vibe on moving. I moved on, and there I was told that there was a road that led me to the Castillo de las Guardas, and I continued my way through it. When I reached the height of the 5th kilometer, I saw a very big thing happen to me. I will never forget it. We listened to the Radio Nacional de España at 11 in the morning, and they were giving the news of a railway accident in the north. Exactly at that moment was when it happened. I saw something very big happen in front of me coming down. I could see that it had a very large volume, but I couldn't make out what it was. Where I thought it was a plane that had crashed. Although he did not hear any explosion, that's what he said. Although he did not hear any explosion, worried and frightened by what he had seen, he himself chose to get out of the car, walked a few meters with the sole desire to know what had happened. He said, I climbed a small hill that was next to the road, and I saw something there. It was like a factory. It looked like a shed, end quote. He was not afraid, but continued to look. What he saw was not touching the ground, but floating in the air. He said it was like a nuclear submarine, metallic colors like aluminum, and with very large dimensions, end quote. At one point, a door of sorts opened. Nothing was heard, but that's when it started to get scary. It had no hinges, no support legs, and suddenly on the right side of the ladder, 3 containers in the shape of inverted plates emerged, and the third one came to me, he said. It was a moment of confusion. So Adrian Sanchez panicked, ran, and got into his car and sped off. One of the objects morphed like a yo-yo, about 7 meters wide by 4 high. This device was following him. One was on the right and one on the left, and one in front and one behind. The panic was growing. He felt helpless. He had nothing to defend with. He said, I had no chance of getting out of it. All I remember from the moment is fear and helplessness. The chase lasted for about 15 kilometers, during which he felt like a rabbit being chased by a hound. The hunt ended when he arrived at the Castillo de las Guardas State Guards barracks. He says, I don't know what time I arrived at the barracks, explained Adrian Sanchez. There he was received by a manager whom he thanked. He explained what had happened, and then they went together to show him the area, but there was nothing more to observe, and they returned back to camp. There, in a conversation with the zone officer, he realized that they knew something more, as if there were already other cases, perhaps like his. Just 48 hours later, his experience had reached the media. It was first published in the newspaper ABC News, an edition of Andalusia, under the title, A Craftsman of Seville Chased by a UFO, and then followed by El Correo de Andalusia and others. After the information in the press, the world of UFOs appeared for the first time on the small screen in the newscast where Adrian Sanchez explained the incident to journalist Tico Medina. Since then, he's received visits from military men and others who wanted to learn as much as possible, but although no good came of all this, apart from getting his story known and mobilizing the world as he showed great interest, his concluding statement was this: What I'm telling you is that what I saw and was chasing me was not from here, Adrian Sanchez says. This had a technology that even today, in the 21st century, we don't have. This one had a technology that was out of this world, he said. And this is I've translated for you from a Greek article. Please leave your comments and thank you for your support. Kindly support my Patreon account. The daily posts are 5 videos daily, and they are totally different from what I have on my YouTube channel. Thank you so much for your support and that you find all my content so interesting. You'll find the Patreon account details in the description box.